Today's Monday, March 11th.
And this is Pitchside Prospects.
We're here with our fourth guest today. This is Coronado legend. I'd say one of San Diego's top coaches, my friend Jerry Ruiz. How are you doing, Jerry?
Good. Thank you for having me. I don't know if I should leave the shades on. We are outside, so.
It's all up to you, Jerry,
it
man.
looks good. I think it's part of your persona. Like I've rarely seen you without shades on.
Okay, good.
And you're in the sun all the time, so I mean.
Yeah.
It
Are they
makes sense.
prescription?
They are.
Oh.
Well, no, they're not. But we're gonna say they are today.
We'll cut that part out.
I was gonna say if you're in training, you're using them in training. They got to be like clear enough to see through. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just gonna. I guess the way that we've done the interviews, we like to talk about the player background that each coach has had before, and I know you're a very technical soccer player. So how about you break down like where did Jerry come from? Where did Jerry begin his love for the game?
Yeah, I was born in Rosarito Beach here, a couple blocks away. So second town over, TJ, then Rosarito. That's where I did all my playing. Never played club here. At 13, I was already playing men's league with my dad's team, 13, 14. Yeah, you know, my dad used to play late into the night, 10 o'clock games, 9 o'clock games. My cousins and I were like, because they were up in the dressing room getting their drinks on, and we were down, playing against the fence, playing some metegol. I don't know if you know metegol.
Legendary.
Right? So we played, and time flew, and it was like 2 a.m. and Dad finally got, wanted to take us home, but that was life in Mexico. Realistically, every weekend was the same thing, and then I came to school here, so recess was soccer, everything was soccer, so that's where.
That recess soccer is fun.
The recess soccer.
In the cage.
But it's funny because it was kind of they never let us play soccer for some reason.
In the school, they say
school.
like, here's a basketball, here's a football.
Yeah. I'm like,
you can't have a football though.
No, you're gonna kick the ball into like a house that was.
Or kick it to somebody's head or anything.
I don't know.
They made the worst, like at my school too. They made no kicking balls. No kicking balls. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
You could throw a ball.
No, I don't know what it was. There was a perfect soccer pitch on the elementary, because this was elementary.
You even had you had a pitch.
We had grass. We had goals.
What the?
And then they like no soccer at recess, no soccer here, only like certain times. And I think my little generation of third and fourth graders, we were like, no, everybody wanted to play, and then they had to.
No. We're gonna play with the basketball, or you're gonna give us a football.
Yeah. So, but it was pretty awesome. Now I'm happy because I was asking a coach friend of mine who's also a teacher. I'm like, so at recess you see more girls playing soccer now at recess, right? I'm like, oh yeah, it's all girls. Before it was only boys, playing. Before this was like, obviously I'm old.
But that's a good thing to see now that girls are coming in and playing more.
Because I remember here I started listening to one or two girls joining the boys little game, right? This was like 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And now the girls are doing their own thing. They're checking out the soccer ball, because you used to check out a basketball, volleyball.
You can say there's enough interest to go and have a group of girls, and they'll go play at recess now. Whereas before, the girls had to just go and join the boys.
Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
So
it's more popular.
So yeah, and then I played, and I think eventually I joined a semi-professional team here. Then I went to play professionally in Hungary for a little bit, got injured, came back. That was it, and I was coaching.
Was your peak? Where was your peak level of player performance? You'd say, like, if you could take me back to this year in my playing, I was unstoppable.
Probably 2006 into 2007, right? 2006, and I was older, right? The funny thing is, I was always a very athletic player, right? Very dynamic, lean player.
You can even see your acrobats to this day.
All that, right?
Yeah.
And I got into coaching with the legend Manny Neves, right? And Manny Neves, I started coaching before I went to play. He broke down this, like, growing up in Mexico and away from club and all that stuff, not an ounce of technique was taught to me. Not an ounce, right? All that was taught, I remember, don't hit it with your toe. Don't hit it with your toe. That's
not what to do, what not to do.
What not to do.
Only
Don't kick
what
it that
not
way.
to do.
And that, I remember that. And then when I came here with Manny, he broke it down. Like, he broke down ball control and little magic hops and
Tell me about that.
everything. So for a year of just listening to him, right? And he put me on the spot. A lot of the times he's like, okay, Jerry, demo.
Oh gosh.
So I was like, so the first demo was like, he kind of made fun of me a little bit, but he wanted me to get better. So by the next time, like, I already had it down, right? So I became a more technical player within that year, just with him, right? Just by him teaching kids, I was like, oh, this is okay. My shot got better, my passing got better, my touch got better, and when everything got better, that's when I started getting my shots, because everybody knew that what I can do when I had the ball. The problem is receiving the ball and receiving it under pressure and all that stuff. So that was like, okay.
In 06 and 07, where were you playing?
I was playing here locally at the MPSL, when the MPSL first started. So I think we were the first San Diego team in that league. So, and then after that was San Diego United, and I think they tried to bring back the Flash, and then SD Boca, and now what is like Albion and all
the
Rebels,
UPSLs. Yeah.
So USL, but I think in San Diego, the first team was like the A-League Gauchos back in the day. And when I was like in high school, I heard about that team a lot. And some of the players that I played with played on that team. So I got picked up, a friend of mine and I got picked up, and I was there. I only played like 2 games. I was injured all of my stay over there in Tatabanya, it was called.
Okay.
And it was like a really shitty time. Sorry,
Yeah.
a really
No,
bad
it's
time.
shitty. That's
It's okay.
shitty, bro.
It was
Like,
a really shitty time.
you're there, you're not training. It's what?
And then I had already kind of like, it was never in my, I never set out to be a professional football player, realistically. It just got, it was brought up, like, it was like, here. People knew that I had what it took. I never thought of myself as that player. But when I got the shot, I took the opportunity, right? So when I was over there and it started to get rough, right, they tried to push me into, because they were going into relegation, and they brought me over to help them stay in the race, right? So it was very frustrating, right?
It's tough.
So they tried to push me, like, the PT tried to really, really push my healing process, got me in when he shouldn't have. I went back down. And then they finally went into relegation. I got offered a contract to stay and play in the second division. And by that time, I had already gotten a taste of coaching and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm good.
I like to ask this question to like all of the adults that we've interviewed, because you have more knowledge than you have more knowledge now than what you had before. So what would you have told your 10-year-old self, knowing all of the information that you have now? Little 10-year-old Jerry.
No, you know what? It's a difficult question because of life, right? Everything that life throws at you, right? Of course I would have liked to say, like, oh, stay with it, get with good coaches and all that stuff. But like, a lot of my pathway was like through what happened with my parents, what happened, I was in Mexico. We drove every day across the border to come to school, and then I played hockey, I played basketball. I played hockey at a pretty good level, actually, which is nobody.
It sounded like what you had to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of the questions still lingering in my mind is, you said you played in Hungary. What team did you play for in Hungary?
It's called Tatabanya.
One more time.
Tatabanya.
Tatabanya.
Right.
Ivan, help me out with that one. Tatabanya.
Tatabanya. Yeah, and it was like I said, it wasn't, I don't talk about it much because it really wasn't much, but like, now I use that experience as like, okay, I got there, right? I know what it takes to get there. I don't know what it takes to stay there, right? Because I didn't stay there. So that's like a different process. But now it's like, can I get my players there? Can I get my teams? And what does it really take? Because I always say it was a year process when I decided that I was going to do this, because I did decide to, at one point, to pursue the professional career. And I remember it took a full year of me running every day, me going against the wall every day. I even did like a P90X program, I remember, for fitness, because I couldn't do the gym or whatever. But like, I followed the 90 days and I was like in peak physical shape, and but it was like a mindset, right? That it was like, no, a year from this date I'm gonna be here. And for me it was different, like I said, because I was older, and people always like knew what I can do, but I didn't know, right? I was always like kind of self-doubt and stuff like that. But like for that year, like I said, I was like just laser focused.
Super locked in.
And what made you, or how did you make the jump? Who did you know? How did that, like, and especially Hungary, like that would be like the last place I think someone would go to. Like, how did that happen?
Well, realistically, the guy that owned the Sockers here in San Diego, he was part owner of that team.
Okay.
Wow.
Right, so he had actually sent a couple players from San Diego over already. A good friend of mine was already over there when I went, so it made it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It made it a little bit easier. So they were monitoring me. They were looking at me, and they finally decided that I was having a very successful season over here, scoring a lot of goals. They sent me over there like as a 9, like a center forward, and the first
like a Santi Munoz or.
Well, the first thing I do, like, this huge Hungarian guy is like his belly button's right here. I'm like, dude, but I was always more comfortable. Taking people on,
facing them.
So I was like, put me on the wing.
Same here.
So the winger, and my body type is also like that, and they're trying to play with a true 9. I'm like, come on, guys. But anyways,
I got something to tell you.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, let's get some protein on me and let's do it. But no. So I was on the wing, and that's where, and my other friend was on the opposite wing, which made it really cool.
That's cool, yeah.
And then we roomed together. Spent a lot of time together. There's nothing really to do over there. There was no real internet. Like, if I needed a towel, like a second towel at the locker room, I had to get my dictionary and go like, or whatever. So like,
that's the adaptation. That sounds hard. And Hungarian is a tough language.
Well, my first session, one of my first sessions, right? And the head coach is running it. So like, all of a sudden they're doing something, and he was gonna change the exercise, and I was in the front of the line, and he just goes like, Jerry, go.
Okay, what am I doing?
It was like a passing pattern. So I was trying to figure out where the first ball was. So I played it straight on. No. Like,
bro, if you're first in line to the passing pattern, no chance. You need a couple goes before you can.
I know, he was really upset at me. I'm like, all right, whatever. What am I gonna do? Right? It's to the right. Okay, so up back and it's up back and okay, got it. But yeah, those are moments that I remember, and those are moments where like I bring them back to my kids and use them. I'm like, you gotta pay attention. Like, you gotta pay attention. Like, if you don't understand the language, you just gotta pay attention.
You're talking about that transition from like player to coach. You'd already started like seeing the coaching bit. What in your mind made you want to make that change fully? What made you commit like 2-footed to coaching instead of playing? It's on my mind, because I remember that time when I did that, and it was really a conscious decision to say, all right, I'm putting the boots on the wall, and I'm putting my shoes on, and now I'm going to still be on the grass every day, but it's going to be for the people in front of me rather than for myself. And then one of the thoughts that followed with that was, I tripped up doing these things as a player. I want to make sure the players in front of me are educated and understanding of those hazards so that they don't trip on those things. As a motivation to get into it, that's what allowed me to say, all right, boots on the wall, hat forward, now I'm going to start my coaching era. It really did. I remembered. It was tough, but I made a conscious decision. Do you remember anything like that?
For me, it wasn't like there were kind of two separate things, right? It was like I did the whole thing. I was over there and I played, and it was not the best experience, like I said. I tried, right? I tried, and then I had a couple more opportunities to play, but then again, the age was the factor by then, right? But I just remember how coaching made me feel, right? Just, the impact on the kids, right? So like how they see you like a celebrity, right?
Yeah, straight up, yeah.
Right? So, and it sucks that a lot of people abuse that power, right? Because now you hear about all these stories and you're like, this is like the best feeling in the world, right? You're someone to them. You don't need to inspire like millions. You just need to inspire that player in that moment, right? So, and I think it feels the same, right?
Oh, yeah.
If not better, right? 'Cause
Better.
It's so
better.
personal. So to come back to coaching is like I kind of miss that, right? I kind of miss that. So it was like an easy transition. All my family on my mom's side are educators, right? It comes very naturally to them. So so I think for me it was pretty easy. It came really naturally, right? It wasn't like, I'm gonna do this, and it was never. Then it became about my experiences and how can I translate my experiences to the players now, right? Without selling smoke. This is my story. This is how far I went, and I never went the pathway that you're going. I never went the club pathway. I never went the college pathway. The only reason I played college was because the coach that we were talking to, he's now at the other college. He's just, he wanted to win.
Yeah.
And he recruited.
You can say his name.
Yeah. He wanted. Well, he wanted to recruit the best players for that. So I remember taking units, right? Because in college you have to have certain units, right? You're like, here's a soccer class, 12 units or 24 units, whatever it was. Never showed up to class, and that's why I'm not saying his name.
Good to ball. But you were good to ball because you were on paper 12 units.
Exactly. So I was like, boom. And there was a couple of us that he got that way. We won the championship that year, and it was great. But like I said, that guy's a great recruiter. He knows what he wants, and it was all about the win. And we went and we won, and that was it. College for me.
Are you more of a winner or an educator?
More of a what?
Winner or educator?
In the coaching aspect.
In the coaching aspect, yeah.
No, I'm an educator for sure.
Same.
The reward will be there. I believe firmly, but if you focus on educating first.
Winning is the result of the process. The process is education.
But the problem is people want the result like this, and they're not willing to be patient enough to.
I know one of those young men.
Was it always like this, or like now in this?
Yeah.
What? Winning? What is that?
It's a cherished art of the process.
It just depends on the environment, obviously, right? It depends
Of course.
There's environments where you're obligated to win, and you have to find a way to win, and I get that. I get that. I'll watch a game. And I'll go like, if I really want to win, I can probably manipulate it so that I win, right? And I've seen coaches, like true coaches, that can actually do that.
Yeah.
Right.
True or true?
True.
Okay.
True coaches that see the game.
Like masters of the chessboard while it's on. They're able to depict the changes and make them win.
If I have.
Thank you.
You know where I saw it?
Thank you.
He's arrogant.
Well, he was a part of like when I coached in Coronado first, you were playing recreational soccer when you were a kid, right? And he was one of the ballers, right? He's one of the ballers.
Thank you.
Right?
He never talks big about his playing ability, but I think maybe because he's always like next to me and I played well, so it's like. But he never talks big on his playing career. He always talks big on his coaching, but he never like shouts his ability to play.
Well, I'll tell you right
Because
now.
I was a rec
that,
player,
no, but he was. We always try to get him to the competitive side. Always.
That's
Oh,
true.
like even
That's
when
true.
even like up until his last year of recreational soccer when we had him, we always try to push him, try to get his mom to, and even Juan Marco too. We
that
had
was
the
tough.
hardest time bringing him over, and finally we convinced his mom, and she decided to bring him over, and you know I think he's gonna do good things, and he's a motivated kid, right? I see him out on the field, like if I'm doing a private session somewhere, right, especially in Coronado, he's like there and his ball needs pumping. I'll send him a new ball. Here, use 3 of these. Hey, I'm gonna be doing a session. If you want to use a goal, use a goal. Blah blah blah. But I see him with the wall. I see him like, all right, the bathroom wall over there is shattered. I don't know.
I wonder who did that. I wonder who did that.
I'm just gonna say it for
don't get this to
for
the
Xiao.
city.
The only thing Xiao needs is a little bit of discipline, and he's great. You know?
Yeah.
Because he's got the passion, the love. He's a good player.
It's for you, Marco.
Just a little bit of discipline, you know. Take care of yourself and know what to do and when to do it and how to do it.
Well, that's the hard part too, right?
It's life
Because he's so young, right? And then that's what you wanna share your experience, right? About discipline, right? It's even when I started coaching here in Coronado, the older coaches were always talking about their experiences in the coaching world. And there's one point where I really started listening. Oh, when you're 30, Jerry, this is what's going to happen. I'm like, okay, pay attention. When you're 40, Jerry, this is what's going to happen. Pay attention. And I did, and I was like, oh, he did tell me, and I'm glad I prepared for it this way, right? Or, oh yeah, he told me that. It was my bad, type of thing.
Could you share one of those?
I felt that heavily.
As he's about to turn 30, can you share one of those 30 experiences that he needs to look out for in these next coming years?
I mean, I to some regard get what you're saying. I'd been around a lot of older coaches at Barca, some 10 to 15 years older than me, and there were a lot of, not warnings, but heads up. As you get further in coaching, this is what it's going to be like, this is what you're going to see. And you have to make the choice to listen to that, you know, and eat it and develop and really understand it. Or the other one, let it go. Yeah. And there were times as a younger coach in Los Angeles, I was getting that all the time, and I would let it go over my head. I'm like, I'm going to do as I please and feel. And then at Barca it changed. I said, okay, wait, I'm going to eat this stuff up, and I'm going to see what are they talking about. It's hard, though, because it takes time for the lessons that they're trying to show you or give you, those little wisdom pieces, to show in your own life and to operate on them based on what you heard way back then. That's like a maturity thing.
Yeah.
And at 22, 25, no chance was Zach doing that. But 2-3 weeks away from 30, there's a lot of things that they told me 4 or 5 years ago that I'm falling back on now. For professionalism's sake, for building relationships, for getting contracts to fields, for all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, I understand the notion, but I'm sure there's all kinds of secrets that, how do you say, age and experience give to coaching.
I mean, there's a lot of life lessons in general with your family and where you want to be, you know. But it's like in your professional career, where do you want to be when you're 35 or when you're 40? You know, you have a good opportunity now to set yourself up for success 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? But it's like you have to set a plan in motion now, right? So it's a big opportunity all the time. And I could say the same thing about me. I'm 40, gonna turn 41 in June. Where do I want to be when I'm 50, right? In terms of, you know, my career, my business, and my physical shape as well, right? So like it goes hand in hand because I pride myself on being a very hands-on coach. You know, I'm right in the mix, but it's like now I have to really take care of my body, right? I really have to take care of my body, watch what I eat, you know, all that stuff if I want to be as active at 50, 60, you know. I talk about Manny a lot, but Manny's probably, 60-something, and that guy can demo like nobody else. Like, that guy is, like, ridiculous, right? He'll control the ball better than you. He'll pass the ball better than you. He'll do everything better than you. Like, and it's not to say, like, I'm not good. It's just that's how good that guy is, right?
I have a question. You were talking about, like, the instant reward of winning. Is this, do you see this more in teams in society now that like everything is on the phone and it's like everything is instant gratification, or has this been something that has always been the case, or is it more pronounced now?
I'm not. Well, the landscape has changed a lot, right? And now you see it with top teams, right? Top teams and parents of top players that say they are for development, but it's the win. I want to be on the winning team. I want the clout, right? My daughter. Now I have an account for my daughter, my son, who's 7 years old. I manage their account, their soccer account. No, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
like, oh, they're winning this or winning that, and now the club jumping is more, right? They have those two players that are gonna make the team win. We're gonna go over there. Oh, those two players moved over there. Oh, now we're gonna go over there. You know, those two players aren't the best players anymore. These two are the best players, and they're jumping. So now we're going,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay. So it's like, that's the landscape now. So like, you have to have a coach that's really grounded, right? Because now you have coaches that are selling the same thing, right? They're selling their product, right? Because maybe they're under pressure from the club to retain the players or whatever. But it's like, there's no way, like, unless you're winning at a U7 level, the national title. And it's like, it's a little bit sad. And then obviously I'm talking about the youngest age groups.
Yeah.
The oldest group is even worse.
Chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I played, wow. You
You're
could be on
old.
the same team for 5-6 years, 5-6 seasons. One or two guys would leave if they got pulled up to a premier group or, the DA. This was a rare occurrence. It happened, but it didn't happen every season. Your team stuck together. Your coach was in front of you for multiple years. And even in my first couple years of coaching, 6-7 years ago, it was still somewhat this way, especially in the youngers. People stayed together for longer. People weren't hopping ship so often. And in the last 5 years, it's been madness. People they sign yearly contracts.
Yeah.
And then they're not signing with a club program. They're signing with the coach and the people around them, the kids. And at the end of each season, based on the results and how it transpired, they look at that contract and they either tear it up or they sign it again. Mm-hmm. But in no means is it lasting multiple years the way it was, because you have kids and coaches hopping ship like crazy.
Well, I grew up in a different culture, right? I only played in Rosarito. My dad has a club there, and I only played for that club. There's another club. All my cousins and friends were in that club, and my dad was like, "You're never gonna play for that club, dude. Like it's like, this is your club. Yeah. Like this is what we grew up with."
But I like that.
No, absolutely.
I like that.
But it was kind of like ingrained. Like, even when I had the option, right, the option to play with them at certain points, or like, all my cousins were good. Like, I always thought, like, they're good players. I never thought of myself as a really good player, right? But I was like, well, if there's anybody that's gonna kind of stop them or beat them, is gonna have to be me with my friends and that type. And I remember it always kind of affected me playing against them, right? But till this day, they have their club. Their clubs still exist over there. But I remember just that it's like being a Barca fan, being a Liverpool fan, that's how I felt about my home club.
Right.
And that's why, like, here in Coronado, that's how I felt about my club as well, right? And I had offers to go here, there, and as a coach, as a director, but I felt that way about the club. Then later on, the landscape has changed. We're in a different culture. You have to learn to let go. You have to learn to let go.
Do you think it's a cultural thing that people believe, to say it this way, easy, loyalty? People have loyalty over there, and here it's more about the self-interest of oneself?
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, if you talk to some of the directors in the club that I am right now, they grew up with that club. They played for that club, right? They have a feeling for that club, right? And they want to make it, for better or worse, they want to make it better, right? And they're exploring different avenues. excuse me,
And committed to that.
committed, but their idea is genuine. They genuinely want to make it better. In Coronado, I genuinely wanted to make it better. We don't get it right all the time, right? Because you can't please everybody, right? And the moment you don't please the correct person, you're done, right?
Back to the drawing board.
Believe me.
Start over. It's come a new thing.
But that's what it is, and that's what it is. But it's like, how as a club are you expecting that loyalty, right? And this is for all clubs, right? And you want you put it out to everybody, your core values and everything, right? Your whole spiel. But then at the end of the day, it's like at every level, the player is expendable as well. Because I can cut you. Like, sorry, you're no good. You know, you were very good this year, but 10 more players better than you
Just showed up to my door.
just showed up. So I have to, sorry. At least in Coronado, we try to, because it was a smaller club, we try to keep them, right? As a development player, you can keep training with the team. You get a chance to come back next year, right? But it's a different environment. It's a smaller club, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, parents and players have the option to go somewhere else, but the clubs have the option to keep or send your player away.
And I'm not too big on this whole idea that I need to retain players on my field, or like from year to year the team needs to be the same entity into the next, because I know that the landscape has changed.
Yeah, yeah.
I look at it like this year, this is us, and from the starting point, this is where we're at. And in 12 months, we need to be here. And if we did that in these 12 months, the things that we did in here need to be lasting lessons for these players, even when they aren't with me. Because the likelihood of them still being with me in 2 to 3 seasons from now is low. But when they see that guy, whoever he may be, and they're playing in front of him, I can't have this player be the one that's caught out to say, like, well, who taught you to receive like that? Who told you to play in this moment? I don't want that player to be caught out because of the lessons I didn't give him in the past. So that's why I say I'm always trying to give tools to add to your tool belt. You teach you how to use the tool, so I don't never have to go and do the work again. It's yours to know and yours to do.
Of course.
I think that's like the way that I've wrapped my mentality around it. Now that I know the landscape around me is ever changing.
Yeah.
You got to create a bubble and say, within this bubble and this timeline, this is what we're going to get done. And when the bubble pops, there's going to be lasting effects, and it's going to be with the players and wherever they go.
No, I agree that, but that's like, obviously with individual coaches like yourself, that's a great mindset and a great message, right? But as a club, right, at least the information that you try to put out, right, as a club is, this is where we see your kids, right, at 16, 17, with a good shot of pursuing whatever dream in the football world you want. But in this breakdown from U7 to U12, right, here's the top team, but there's going to be movements back and forth. But it's always with the best interests of the player, right? So when he gets to this moment, right, they have the tools. They have had the touches. They have, you put him in stressful environments, in places where they can be successful. But that's where most clubs lack that, right?
It gets really cutthroat up
there. And it goes to the parents too, I feel like.
No.
In the age groups of U7 and U12, where if they're not here, and they got placed here, we're going somewhere else. It's like, is their whole player pathway going to depend on being on this team or this team, or is it going to be about what happens in the whole span of their player pathway that actually makes him get to whatever level that kid wants to be, like you said? I got a question, and I gotta say that for Nato, my utmost respect to them is on their technical teaching of players. And I think it started with Manny.
Yeah,
Manny being able to really break down the little nuances of every single action. I think that was one of the best things, and I remember him in little clinics that you guys would do.
Yeah.
Pa 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 pa. His little sound effects to make you engage. What would you say is the most important skill that a youth player needs to acquire to be able to be successful in this game? I know there's many, but if you had to just break down one.
I mean, to be a well-rounded player, you need a couple, right? But and he always said this: the best players in the world are the dribblers, right? The kids that are comfortable on the ball, that can dribble the ball. Like, for me, it's just if you're it's the comfort level on the ball, right? If you pass, it's like, okay, you can passing, receiving, all those other things, which is fine. It's movements of the ball within the game. But if you're a player that is comfortable with the ball at your feet, you'll always want the ball, right? And there's a lot of kids that really don't want the ball.
Yeah.
Or they'll want it just to take that touch and move the ball around, right? And if you're very comfortable as a dribbler, right? If you're comfortable on the dribble, just having the ball with you, knowing that no matter who comes, you're not going to lose this ball, and you always have the option of the pass, then I think that's one of the most important things.
That's a great answer right there. Yeah, so true.
Yeah, it's great because I'm totally opposite. I'm like receiving, passing.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll drill that till the day I die.
Which is fine,
It's one of those things I think.
Look, he's a Barca guy, so that's
It's
why.
the frequency of it too. Like, I think it's really important. But yeah, I had a thought also because I'm a Barca guy. It's like you were talking earlier about the pride thing. Like, you have to really buy into your club. And I know this is excerpt backwards, but that's how I felt about both their methodology and their program when I was with them. It's like, not only do I love being a part of this club, but I fully believe in how they teach and what they teach. And it's lasted all the way till now. I'm 4 years out of that program, and I'm still
but
teaching that
So,
way,
like, if you go to
know?
Barca, you look at Messi, you look at Iniesta, the guys that came out of there. You look at Sergio
They do have the
Roberto,
dribble.
Jordi Alba. Like, how comfortable are they with the ball?
And
They can
incredibly.
have the ball, and everybody can take a moment to go on the dribble with comfort, right? Busquets, right? He'll turn on a dime, right? He's always looking for the pass, but he's so comfortable on the ball, knowing that with whatever amount of pressure, he can handle it. And sometimes most of the time it's with the
brilliant.
pass, right? But a lot of the times he's turning, and
It's brilliant. No, it's great point. I mean, I said it's brilliant, but you make a point to the whole idea that positional possession only works when each player is comfortable enough with the ball to dribble out of pressure or maintain the possession under pressure long enough for players to reposition themselves and find the next out. I mean, it's right there, a part of the receiving and passing. It's buying that time. That time is so incredibly important too. When your 6 picks it up and they need 3 or 4 dribble touches, and you're a winger waiting to get in position, you need that to maybe check in, bring the fullback with you, and then go. And he needs to have a couple of touches.
And their head is always up, right? And that's like the clear sign of, like, this is second nature. And this is not a problem. Like, and that's just the comfort level on the ball. And that's it. Everything else.
That's a great answer. And you were saying, like, that you enjoy the snippets that we make as a podcast. That is 100% a snippet. Like, because everyone, like he said, is going to say, oh, the touch, the receive, or some other people would say, oh, shooting is the most important.
Whoa, bro, mine is receive and pass. It's a twofer.
All right, whatever. The point is that not everyone
in the air and side volley. That's
Yeah. I've seen you on your videos do a bunch of those side volleys. They look good.
Oh, you don't like in the foot volley the touch over the net?
Oh, I love that. I live for that. I live for those. Shot attack, baby.
We're gonna take a little intermission, just make sure that we haven't lost the recording.
Oh yeah, you've been doing this intermission
Gang.
thing.
I just want to make sure, because this is a good interview. You know?
Absolutely.
So, Jerry, you having coached in the United States and being a Hispanic person, and we've already asked Che this question, where would Hispanic coaching, like the tough knocks, the very aggressive loudness that you may have seen with the coach that we had mentioned, how does that fall inside of the American soccer pyramid? Is it acceptable at a certain age, or what would you say?
It just depends. There's always, you have to be an element of respect, right? With certain coaches, right? I've had players that I've had personally coached send them to a different that style of coach, and I'm not saying, like I said, the landscape's changing, but but kids have been in therapy. Kids have been depressed. Kids have been right because they want to please the coach so much. So I'm not exactly sure if that type of coaching is acceptable in this society anymore. If there is, like, I can get loud. Like, I can get loud as a coach, and I can go off, right? Because I'm emotional as well. And but if you go off, you have to be able to come back and then bring in the player with you, and go like, look, man, apologize, right? But we need this, or you need this, right? But it's coming from a place of love and respect. Because if you leave it like that, it's over.
Total lack or loss of respect, right? It's like that intensity towards a player could cross a line, leaving the player to receive that feedback, less like constructive criticism and now like true criticism. And coming from the coach, that's the last thing you want, because this is the person that's supposed to be instilling belief and courage and the ability to try into you, and now you're getting belittled and berated. It could create a switch off.
Yeah.
And now everything, like you said, like, I trust in my ability to play, so I can play whether this guy likes it or not. I know what I'm going to do. And he screams at me, and I don't respect what he's saying, but I can deal with it because it's a good team and we play. That's not a very healthy, communicative environment, but they exist in football.
Yeah.
And they exist because of that loss of respect, that intensity.
Once you lose that respect, is there any way to get it back, or is that relationship broken?
I think he just explained it a little bit. At least that's one way, right? It's like...
But you have to recognize it. Like, if you think you're in the right and the player's in the wrong, and it becomes like, I don't know if I've seen it anymore as much, but it's almost like picking on the same player over and over and over and over. And it's two. One, it's one of the worst players on the team, and sometimes it could be the best player on the team, where you think you're doing the player a favor, but every player's personality is different.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, even like I'll have players that are super emotional all the time, and yes, as a coach, you want to be empathetic and you want to go like, but there comes a point where, like, hey, let's go.
Yeah, you gotta be logical too. We gotta be logical too.
Get out of the field. Like, you have to. Like, there has to be balance. You have to find a balance, otherwise, one bad moment, especially for us coaches and social media and videos and this, like, one bad moment for you, you're done, man. It doesn't matter what your intentions were. You have to pick those moments as well, right?
And just so you know, it doesn't have to be a video that you posted or sent. It could be something that somebody else sent or posted.
The parents on the side
and you're done.
Being more involved in the sideline as well.
And I'm speaking from personal experience on that, where I didn't do a dang thing, but someone else posted it, and it's like, it can ruin careers. Not ruin it, but derail it for sure. Player, coach, program organizer, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just have to be like. But again, like, it's got to be balanced. It's got to be balanced. Like I said, I'll go off, and I'm ashamed, but I've been known to throw my water bottle, like, something like.
I got a bad problem. It's with my glasses. I don't wear glasses anymore coaching because I break them all.
Yeah.
Like, dang it.
But it's like, okay, I have to be mature and check my emotions, and I do it on both sides. Like, now I try, like, if I'm really angry at something, right, I try to keep it in. And also, I'll even check it on the opposite side, where we score a great goal, know that there's more game, right, and I have to keep my cool. I'll do a little fist bump.
Yeah. That's like Carlo Ancelotti when they score, no reaction. Just like, okay. That's the composure of wisdom and experience coming in,
like,
right?
Klopp sometimes.
Oh, it's Arteta now. Arteta copied Klopp, so
hey, now
we call it
listen.
the Arteta now.
That's because we're gonna take the league this year. That's why. Now I got an off question, or just like a question that isn't within the list, and it's something that we have been talking about recently. Is an ongoing conversation. And I think you do group sessions, right? Do you do personals or groups?
Both.
Both.
But mostly individuals.
And we were talking about the differences of those two, and where we see we get more worth out of one or than the other, or where you see what an individual amplifies in this player, or this ability, or this work, and what a group amplifies in this player group. You know, we've been debating that we feel that group sessions are a lot more powerful than individual blocks.
Now, I'm going to elaborate on the group session because he does shooting group sessions.
Yeah.
So
finishing sessions.
So like something that I've said for individual sessions, if you're going to work on a specific action, I think that's better than being in a group, because then you get the tailored one-on-one, like all the details that you know. But like group sessions that we're talking about is, imagine like just another team training session where you got the possession going, you've got the normal stuff that you do in training.
My debate is more general in a sense that in a group, you still get to do all those actions you would be doing in an individual, less repetition but more game-like. And that's my argument in that setting, is that now you're going to maybe still be shooting in this group session. But now it's going to be under pressure in a regular game setting, in regular spaces. Repetition in one action versus game-like scenario was where my brain was at when we were debating it.
I'm not sure I understand what the question is or what the debate is. For me, the individual session, and I'll go back to my experiences, me with a wall, right? Me with a wall. Okay, just me with the wall. I wanted to get my first touch in the air, right? So I hit the ball, controlled, had to go chase the ball, hit the ball, boom. So it's like within that year, whatever, right? Probably within the 2 months, my touch was all of a sudden money, right? And because I started to challenge myself, I started hitting the ball harder into the wall to get my control. So all of a sudden my shot became stronger, right? I figured out how to really punch the ball, right? But this was like a lot of reps. So for example, you can go into playing with like an inverted winger on the left side, a right footer cutting inside. You want the player to bend the ball to the back post, okay? Okay, you can argue that you can in a group environment or a team scenario, right? We can kind of, play the ball, get the winger, then he'll get maybe 10 to 20 reps to be generous.
Yeah, very generous, yeah.
Right? To be generous on a group setting. In an individual setting where we're only focusing on that, he's getting 20 reps every 3 minutes for an hour. Right? So it's like, this is the scenario. First, it's just how to. Yeah, where to place your foot, how to lock your ankle properly so the ball actually has power when it bends, what to look for, what your target is, and then it's just your first touch, setting yourself up for success. Your first touch, do you want it square? Do you want it forward at an angle? Where do you want your first touch? So now you're getting reps first on the shot, then you get reps on the touch leading to the shot, right? Then you get reps with a little bit of a pattern if you want to look for the shot before you receive the ball. So now you're looking at the ball, receiving, setting yourself up, and then the shot, and then you can go into a game-like scenario where it's like, okay, you're receiving, you got to beat this defender 1v1, so there's got to be a good skill move, keep the ball tight enough so you can, but it's at game speed, right? So first it's slow, right, but it's the repetition, right? The repetition, you're getting 100, 150 reps per session, and then hopefully, right, because you're in an area, well, at least this is how I do it, when it's positional, you're in an area of the field where you recognize where you can be successful from, right? So it's like the corner of the box to the top of the box, from the corner to the D, this is where I'm going to look for my shot.
You're highlighting spaces on the ground where you're successful.
Exactly. So this is what I'm looking for. So anytime that I find myself as a player, because I'm scanning, I'm looking, I find myself in this area, I know that if I get this ball, the first option in my head is going to be the shot, right? Now, if the shot's not on, then I can look for different options. But I'm so confident, because of all my reps, that when I get the ball on this little area, right, that shot is mine.
And my argument then, and this is where the argument lies, is in that setting, if that shot gets blocked off, all the other things he'd be more versed in if he was training more often in group settings than individuals.
Yeah.
Because of the idea with repetition, you gain experience in this action, and with situations, in group settings, in game-like scenarios, you get repetition in a lot of different actions.
For me,
And so-
but for me, if it's gonna be a shot, which is the whole goal of the game, which is the actual reason why we play, to score goals.
Well,
I
you
think
can pass
for me,
it into the net if
I
you
think
beat
for
all
me
the
that's
opponents.
I think for me that's the best. It's the best option.
But you could pass it into the net if you beat all the opponents. You don't have to shoot the ball to score.
I'm
can dribble
saying
in it, actually.
I'm saying this scenario where
Right.
he's got it at the top of the box. Why not shoot?
Because
my
the
opinion.
defender blocked it.
No. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, right? But that's like again, you
It's
go
more derivative, I guess.
No, but you go through different scenarios, but it's like, what does the player want, right?
That's where I was headed. That's where my
where
brain
does the
was
player
headed.
want? What does he need confidence in, right? And the best part, and I posted a video a little while ago. This girl was working on this shot, right? And the main thing is, like, she kind of had the shot already because of all the repetitions, but now I see her receiving under pressure, and it's just that second touch to get away from the player, just a little bit, just to
A
peel
ball's
off a
distance
little,
to
like
be
a
able
little
to
bit
hit.
distance to find your shot, right? And then we went into that because we're looking individually. I'm always looking at where can you be successful individually from this area, right?
And that's details.
Right, but it is right.
Fine
But the private
detail.
session, it has to be more detail oriented,
Mhm.
right? And sure enough, right, this is like a CIF final, which was great, right? She's one-on-one, quickly pressure, touch, right? And because it's so natural, she shoots the ball and drives right into the corner.
That's
Muscle
got to be
memory.
the greatest
That muscle memory.
feeling in the world.
That-
Both for
it
her
is.
and for the work, the
Exactly.
Coach Cork working on that.
So I'm like, yeah, it was like gave me a little bit of chills, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But it's like, but leading up to that moment, she had already taken and scored a couple of goals from that same area in that way.
So did she
with
come?
defenders.
Did she come to you saying, "I want to fine tune this. I want to improve this"?
For
And
her,
that helps it.
well,
You
for
focus
her,
on
it's,
that.
yeah, for her it's different because I've seen her play, right? And she needs to work on her first touch away from pressure. Her dribbling needs work, right? Her game awareness. And game awareness is very hard to replicate in a 1v1 setting. Now you have more cognitive exercises with lights and this and that, which is, it helps. I think it helps. But yes, you have to that needs to apply it in a game setting. when parents come to me and say, well, she doesn't find pockets of space and things. Yeah, you got to talk to your coach, right? You understand? Like, I can help her, like, but the players aren't moving, right? I got dummies, I got cones, right? And like, she can look, but she doesn't know what to look for. She doesn't really know what to look for. Yeah, I can say there's this, pretend this is a defender, pretend this, pretend that. But that's it, again, balance, right? But the player that comes to me is a player that can't receive a ball, right? And if that, yes, eventually, if played enough with their team, in a year she'll be able to receive the ball. But if you come to an individual trainer that's just working on passing, receiving, and different types, then
Give me six players in a rondo, and I'll get that player receiving and passing in 2 sessions.
But that would be like a group.
It's always in between. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the group, and it's not an individual. It's like right in there, in between those two. It's like one of those things where I thought to myself, individual sessions are best when the player themselves know what they want to improve on,
correct.
specifically. When a player can come up to you and say, I want to get better at this, then I'm like, individual sessions, let's go.
But that's for the most part what I do. I talk to either the parent or the player, and the player is like, I have difficulty here, right? I play this. When they're older, it's like, I play this position for the most part. This is where I have the most difficulty. It could be a right back controlling the ball, or a right back switching the point of attack. Whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily always have to be near the goal, right? It's just, okay, let's get repetition here, right? And then you're gonna have to be able to do this under pressure in your game environment or in your team environment. But it's just, like I said, the individual session should be more about getting repetitions. For me, right, if you're going into an individual session and 30 minutes are spent in coordination and going through cones and running exercises, well, is it a get better at running?
Yeah, like an
exercise?
SAQ. All of a sudden now it's
But
an
like,
SAQ session.
but I can tear a session apart just like you can and you can. You can look at any other coach and tear the session apart, right? There's no context behind it. You have to have the context behind it, right? Some of our sessions like, oh, the player really wants to be better, at shooting over here on the right side with power, and all of a sudden like we're going through the movement, but the kid can't, like every time we get to the shot it's like toe this, toe. So I'm like, I'm sorry, break down all the way back to here, rep here, rep here, rep here. The parent doesn't like it. I'm sorry, this is what's going to make it, and this is,
This is where he's at.
This is
She's
work
at.
to do at home, right? For me, it's like if you're not putting, it's like, and technical individual things are like being a soloist at a piano, right? Like you have to know your craft, but you have to work on it at home. Like if I'm teaching a player how to pass and receive inside the foot, very basic little players, right? Because a lot of the players can't do that. Then it's like, okay, we got 1 hour, right? This is kind of like a Mickey Mouse hour, right? Because we're going through the basics here. Parent, you got 2 weeks, right? In 2 weeks, if we're doing this again, I'm not working with your player anymore.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love that because it applies a bit of pressure to the student of the game to learn what he's being taught. It's not just going through the motions.
But
You're
then
here
you
to
go back
get better.
back to if you're there because you want to be there as a player, come on in.
No problem.
If you're here because your parent is wants you to get better, that's a red flag.
That's a problem.
Because then the session, and I was telling JC this, the session, like all of a sudden the session flows when the kid wants to be there. Like, oh, 10 minutes left only? We got to get to...
You're shooting 5 minutes after too,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like,
And then some sessions, it was like, oh man, we still got 45 minutes.
I know that feeling well.
Like,
I know that
man.
feeling. And it's just simply because the player doesn't want to be there. The parent wants the player to be there. And you as the working coach can literally feel that energy transfer, and it's either there or it's not. For all of us who are passionate about going to the field and enjoying doing what we do, we would like to have that passion reciprocated, and when it's not, it's like you called it, a red flag. It's like, okay, well, why is he out here? You look over at the parent who's in the chair with the laptop down, and you can tell they're busy, and you kind of connect the dot A to dot B and say, oh, they needed an hour away from the kid.
Yeah.
Say, oh, I get it, like it is what it is. It's not everyone, but it exists.
And
it
it's
is
like
part
individual training is not for everybody. Like, I remember, like I said, people have always said that I could be this and that. My father, obviously, he took me to a coach, individual coach. I remember this, and the coach had me run, kind of like as a warm up. But I remember in that I didn't feel like, oh, he's making me run, right? He's making me run some laps
just run.
while he's finishing the other player that he was working with. Excuse me. And then I can't remember the session. I just remember it was like I found it pointless, meaningless, like.
So the first impression also matters too, like to engage the player, because if you
Absolutely,
just send them off, then
as a trainer, right? Because it's like, okay, no, right? If overlapping sessions, player coming in, especially new player, hey, know that my full attention is going to be on you, right? Hey, we're going to get started in a little bit, right? You're early, right? I want you to get warm by yourself, right? Until I'm going to finish the session. But I already know, not just, hey, go run.
you acknowledged
Already
him. You
being
acknowledged
felt
him.
like you're not being paid attention to.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, go run 2 miles. I'm like, So that's so I that stayed in my head, and I just brought it up right now. But that's something that lingered, and I didn't have. And then another thing that kind of comes to mind is when I was trying to follow that professional pathway, and I was in Mexico City, there was a lot of coaches that were open to working with me at no cost, right? That all of a sudden, like, oh, you know what, this guy can, and it was like, oh, we're gonna be at a park. I'm like, this is a weird park. but the guy was like full attention to me.
Because you wanted to play though, huh?
Exactly.
And
Right.
that gives him the little resume boost. Hey, I train professional player X.
And we showed up to this random park, and it wasn't the best, but we did it. We
Yeah,
showed
yeah.
up, we got the work in, and we got out. You know, it's important.
So all that stuff, like,
I got a lingering question on that topic, in a sense. If you could choose, we were like professional top tier team, your favorite choice of team, and you could choose any position on the staff, would you choose manager, trainer, specific specialized
Technical
coach? What would Jerry be?
right now, I think I'm maybe a technical coach, a specialized technical coach, if I'm really being honest. Right? Managing a full team, I mean, I think everybody kind of would like that.
Right. Yeah.
But being realistic to my skill set and what I can, where I can add value to the club, I think it would be in that area, right? To me, a manager, I mean, and you can be a good manager, but like if you have full experience on that top level, that adds, right? We'll go and like, I remember Landon Donovan, right? He led I can't remember the coach. He was the coach for the Loyal.
Nate Miller.
Yeah, Nate.
He's a good friend of mine. And
So
his
Nate,
younger brother.
Right, so Nate. I remember
Danny.
having a meeting with.
Shout out Danny.
Yeah, so having a meeting with Landon and the staff and him straight up going like, look, like these guys are the heads behind, because Landon I think was barely going after his B license or something, but like you guys are the professionals here, but the manager, like, this was like Zidane, right? Zidane, great manager, right? And I heard stories about Zidane. He was on the training pitch, like laying off or like, but it's what he added when it came to game time, when
the pressure was on,
when he was managing players that weren't playing, players that were starting, players that were injured. Like, the value is there for
And
those
a lot
types of
through
guys.
experience, probably.
Exactly, right? So he's been through it all, right? Imagine me coaching a Champions League team, never having been in that Champions League environment or Champions League setting. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen or it can't happen. Mourinho and like all these, because their personalities are strong, but they've been around that, right? Maybe as a technical coach, you're around it a little bit more, gain more confidence, learn from the managers, and then
there's a power or a strength in
me.
knowing what you are and where you could do best, and a club will respect that. Whereas like I've been coaching for 10 years and I see myself the same boat. Like if I was given those choices, I don't believe I'd be the manager. I think that might be a little bit beyond me still, and that from all of my experience doing trainings, I would love to be the trainer, where the head manager sets the training with me. We're designing the context of each drill, who's in what position, in what number, and why, who's playing with whom because of social effective relationships. And then when it comes to training, I'm organizing, facilitating that training while the manager is watching it overseas. Of course, I would love to be the guy who's in charge of every decision and is the head dog in a sense. But I can see that my skill sets are better suited to the training itself, with the 30 guys in and knowing the details of what we're going to do, how long are we going to do it, what are the rest points. That's my forte. And maybe it just comes from endless amounts of trainings, but if I ever saw myself in that position, that's where I would love to be.
But that's where that's what your comfort level is as well, right?
And now.
Right now.
Yeah.
But if you're in that environment, all of a sudden you get to see how the coach operates, right? How, same thing like if you're a coach and you have a very good director, right? You have a very good director and you're learning and observing everything, and eventually it comes to a point where you say, I can probably do that, right? I can probably do that, and that was the case obviously for me, right? I can probably do that. I can do this and that, I think, better, right? And then I can replicate this because is this too good, right? This is money here, right? So I'm not going to change this, and having the confidence to actually say that, where like, oh, this guy's really good here. Let's just keep
respect as well.
Respect, exactly.
I've got a couple more questions. I don't know if you have any more before we end the podcast, but the first one that we also asked the other coaches as well. Do you have any regrets besides throwing water bottles? Like in your coaching career?
Not really.
Nah, it was necessary in the moment.
It's like most of the things that I've done that have been quote unquote negative have also been learning experiences, right? I've done some things that I'm not really proud of, but I've learned, and I've learned from them and applied it somewhere else. So, excuse me. I'll give you an example of when I was a younger coach, and I was more about the wins, right? I was more at the wins. We were like in probably like a state cup semifinal or something like that. Leading up to that, a lot of the parents were like really on me about winning, right? Oh, and there was a player there that wasn't the best player, right? And people knew this, and people were in my head about talking bad about this player. They're 7 years old, okay? So I was like, yeah, I even talked to the director a little bit, and well, yeah, you want to try to win this game or whatever. Yeah, okay. So I had a meeting with the parents, and I was like, you know what, we're driving all the way up to Lancaster. We're staying at a hotel, but just know that your daughter might not play, right? Because we want to win, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Sure enough, we get to the game, and we got some strong players. Players that are now D1 college, and great players, right? And here's this little girl that I have her on the bench, and I think I put her in the last 30 seconds or something stupid like that, right? And that stayed with me for a long time. The drive back was like no music, just like, and it wasn't even
You can
about
hear a little bit.
Yeah, it was like this player, right? Because we had chances. We had so many chances, right, in that game. And
Did you win it?
no, we didn't.
Ooh.
We lost that game.
Ooh.
Even worse.
That's even worse.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Not
sets
the
the
loss, but
immediate
the-
reflection, right?
yeah.
That
Yeah,
set
yeah,
the
so-
immediate reflection.
But
on
it
the
was
way home.
like, and the dad came up to me and he said something to the lines of, "You probably ruined this player's life or soccer life or something like that, right?" Like,
Damn.
like that was, it was cold, but it was true. Like,
But it was honest.
It was honest. I'm like, so I started looking at the team that I select, right, at the beginning of the season, and why I select those players, right? So now I'm very careful when I select the players, and go like, I have to commit myself to these players when I select them. Push back or fast forward to, I think it was a couple years ago, or 8 or 9 years ago, State Cup final. I go to the State Cup final, and I have this player, same thing, like the same type of player, and in my mind I'm like, no matter what happens, this player is gonna play the same amount as everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I've started to preach that it's all about developing, and they need to be in these high, pressure environments, and it might cost me, but I'm never gonna feel the way that I felt about that little girl ever in my life.
It might cost your team that loss,
Yeah,
but it gains you some development for those people.
exactly.
And
So
that's your job. At the end of the day, when you're driving home, when people asking, what do you do? I coach. I think, well, I'm here to raise young beings into better footballers and humans,
and again,
not to win some matches,
and again, everybody's under 10.
It's just like,
Right? This is the most
check yourself,
because
right?
this
It's
is
like, where
important.
are you?
Exactly. And sure enough, like I get her in.
Bro,
and
they got a husky on that.
Dude,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but
That's
I
so
can't believe that
sick.
boat just passed by. I was
Bro,
like, dang, what a sick background.
They got a legitimate husky just cruising back and forth.
Yeah,
Oh, there he is.
that boat's beautiful. Sorry, you were saying?
Future goals.
Oh,
Future
no.
goals.
Anyways, we end up playing. I end up giving her the minutes every time she's in there, right? And then obviously as a coach, you're like, come on, are you gonna play her at the back? Where are you gonna play her? Let's put her somewhere where, And she had some,
Where she can make mistakes and it not hurt the team detrimental.
correct, right? So you learn to kind of manage that as
This
well.
is professionalism.
Yeah. So you have to learn to manage, right? and then she had a couple of chances. Like I was like excited for her. Like she was in, rotated her out, you know, and
Did you win that match?
And we won. We won the whole thing.
There you go.
Not only that, she learned, she gained
Yeah.
experience. Everybody
felt part of it.
participated.
And we could have lost. Like we could have lost, and I could have some parents come up to me and say it was because of her, and I was like, I was ready for it. Like I was prepared for it. This player, the first player that I mentioned, I ran into her like 3 or 4 years later, and I just couldn't help it. I'm like, you know what? I'm so sorry for what. Oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Like I'm so sorry. Like,
She's still playing.
No,
I still have nightmares about it
Was she
today.
still playing?
Yeah, she was still playing.
There you go.
She was still playing, but I was like, you know, and she wasn't like the most athletic or whatever, but it didn't matter, right?
She enjoyed
all
it.
But all that mattered is what I had done to this little girl, right? Somebody does that to my daughter, I'm like, you know, so it's like,
Hands up.
yeah, no matter what, you know, it's like, then as a parent you start to see it. You guys will get there one day.
Hopefully.
But you have other the perspective also changes when you become a.
That leads to my next question, because you're the first coach that we've had on the podcast that has a family.
Oh, good.
So
That's great.
So, then very tough question. How do you balance this persona or this career that you have, and then putting time to your family as well?
No, you know what? It's I think I have a good balance with my kids and my family, in terms of, like, they all play. So the toughest thing about when they all play is I'm coaching, they're
That part.
playing, right? So it's like trying to get to their games is difficult, but the mom is there, and I have a great relationship with my wife. And there was a point where, you know, I explored the whole YouTube thing, right? And now it's easier because you have more easier editing software.
Yeah.
I used to do the YouTube thing, right? And editing took hours.
Tell him about it.
Hours.
Yeah.
It's driving me nuts, Jerry.
Well, yeah.
I'm losing my mind doing it.
So I would go into like training sessions, and then we'd film a video, and then I would have to edit the video, and then I would be in my office editing the video, and I wouldn't come out of the room, out of the office until like everybody was asleep. So my kids were, you know, they just saw me when I got home, maybe had dinner with them, and then I was in the office. So it's like, So the whole YouTube thing is like, or the social media thing was like, I tried, I didn't commit to it fully, because you have to commit to it.
Yeah.
fully. Like commit to posting, commit. It's a different
Commit to
job.
meeting. Every Monday, like the whole half day's taken because we're like trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know.
No, but it's grind, right? Just know that it's grind. Just know that I think you guys are producing good content. Content is king first, and then you get into, you know,
Brand deals,
yeah. Well,
etc.
Well, the equipment, the different angles, you get into that, but you have to, you know, I think what you guys have is a good thing. And then social media works. It's like I've spent hours on trick shots. Like there's some trick shots that I've done that have taken me like a long time, and then I do something random and stupid, and that gets all these views.
That's the
that
worst,
algorithm
that's
just
the
like,
worst
why
feeling.
am I-
That's the worst feeling, when like you do something that you try so hard on, and then
It's like, shit.
crap.
And then to get a nothing to go.
Yeah, that's the absolute worst feeling.
Like, what am I doing here with my time?
I have what was it, a video I did, but the hardest one that I did was, I always had it in my head, like, I'm going to take 2 soccer balls, I'm going to hit one into the crossbar, it's going to pop up, and with the other one, I'm going to hit it in the air.
Sick.
Right?
Sick.
So that it's in my head, I'm like, this is going to be, but again, it's like I only have like my phone, right, recording. I have my GoPro like at a different angle, and it's like, it took me like 2 or 3 sessions.
I was gonna say it could take me 200 to 300
my
shots,
God.
maybe more.
It took me, and I was so close in so many. Right?
Yeah.
So many. And when I say 2 or 3 sessions, it's like 2 hours per session, right?
Yeah.
Right after my. But it's a lot of shooting. It's a lot. And when I finally got it, I was like super happy. And the thing about me was like, if I hit one and I missed it, if the ball was in the background, I have to go get that ball, get it out of the background.
Yeah.
Like,
'Cause
so
then
it looks
Clear.
clean.
See, ooh, no man.
The next extra 50-yard run every time you
Yeah.
miss.
Joder.
So the last day, I was like, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go chase that ball. I'm just gonna do it until like I hit it. And sure enough, that video, like you have a bunch of soccer balls in the background, but I finally do it.
Yeah.
Like, I finally like, oh yes. I'm like, yes.
It came out real. It came out
Yeah, exactly.
honest.
Exactly. So it was honest. And then fast forward, and that has like, I don't know, 300 views or whatever. And then my son does like he edits a video for me, like just ASMR, whatever.
Dude,
right?
those
Jesus Christ, almost
hate-
a million views.
I
now,
hate,
Yeah, and you're like,
to be honest,
why?
I hate those videos because it's like, it's just editing. Like, you just gotta put the microphone next and edit. And those are the ones that I feel like get the most views because
Oh yeah, for sure.
it keeps the people.
It's sensory.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
why.
Oh, yeah.
It's sensory. Because now all of a sudden your visual, your hearing, and your touch, the sound,
Yeah.
you can feel it in your voice. It's
Yeah.
very sensory. And that,
No,
you
but
know,
it's like,
that's
it is
why.
what it is. But social media is like, there's people that study this and know the algorithms, and you have to really do a deep dive and
Stay
and-
current because
exactly,
it changes,
yeah.
and it's something that I will have no part of. And if we do it, it's like I'll edit. I'll spend the time editing to make sure whatever we put out is good quality, kosher content.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I appreciate you saying like what we're doing is good. You know, I'm thankful to hear that. But as far as like following algorithms and posting and looking for a certain amount of likes and I have no part of it.
Well, for
I've
me,
done
like like podcasts like this, like your voices are good, right? You know this, so maybe, and the sound quality is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but that's what catches, right?
Yeah,
And
those
then,
other mics kill it.
And then
Yeah.
this guy speaks like a freaking
He's so loud.
like Mourinho, like he's already like he does like his social media for his school, and it's like his post game interview, and I'm like, oh my god, but I cannot not watch, right?
I love that. Yeah, I
just-
absolutely love
just
it. And there's so many people that they watch, but they don't follow me. And those are even the fans that I love more. You know who you are.
You got
know
people watching
exactly
that
who
don't
you
want to
are.
watch because they don't like you, but they're
You
watching.
know who you are, and I love you too, my fans.
So, I'll leave all of that to him,
Yeah.
and I'll just keep feeding him content as
No,
we
no,
go,
but
and it's like, it's challenging because there's a lot of time goes into it, and for me, even when you do hit it and you get a bunch of views, I don't feel any different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like for
Oh,
me,
that's
it's
what I've noticed. Like the one thing that went viral, I had like 800K views on a video, and like when the likes were popping up, I would just be constantly looking at it, but then I would like be back. I was like, bro, this don't matter. Like at the end of the day,
You
it's
just
cool.
keep going.
It's cool to like have that video go that well, but it doesn't change my life.
Yeah.
At least for now. Maybe if I get 10, 15, 20, 100 more of those, and maybe it will. But like for now, it's just about keep
the
doing it.
process. The
Enjoy-
process
enjoy
leads
the
to the
ride,
result.
right? And enjoy the conversations, and you'll get more people over here that
That's
are
our
far
hope.
more interesting than me. And
No way,
and-
man.
and- I know. I was like, you're never gonna. Get it.
no, man.
No, but you get interesting people, interesting conversations, interesting. Like I would just sit down at anywhere and just chat it up with you guys, no problem.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
some football and it's easy. Like he's like I would be on the field, he would walk by and we'll have a conversation, and he's speaking the same way that he's speaking now, and he's like, no, and this, and like super interesting. How like, are you real, dude? Like, did you grow up this way, really? Like, and he really grew up this way. I was like, okay, because I've seen it when he was like younger, right?
That's the whole idea, actually, for the podcast was, well, we sit down once, twice a week, and we do this anyway, on the reflections of our games, our practices, and, well, what happens when you put a camera in front of it? And we've learned from the process of filming 23 of them now, some things you can say, some things you can't, some things you professionalize, others you don't, and cussing you minimum little things. But the process of doing it is wholesome in the sense that we know coaches like yourself, like us, we're doing this with each other weekly on a regular basis. And that the information, most of it that comes out of these conversations is very beneficial. for the people that are having that conversation and others to hear, and so I'm glad that we've been committed to it, to say,
even when you're not 100%, like, it's okay. We have little faults.
I give him one shot because this week I canceled on last week,
Yeah.
but we've missed 2 because of someone else. So right now, someone is 50% better than the other.
Yeah, you're right.
And guest number 1.
That's good.
I'm on the list,
yeah,
baby.
So we're doing like a little competition to
I'm
see
so
who
glad
can
you
actually
reached out to me.
bring the guests out, because all of our past, 3 or 4.
4 now.
No, but I had 3.
You have 3.
I have 3 guests that I brought on, and he finally got on the board and put one up. So we're gonna try and keep competing with each other to see who can
I'm
bring
not
the
insulted
guest.
that you didn't reach out to me.
And
I'm
we
very
haven't
pleased
finished
that
business.
you reached out to me, because you
La
could
neta,
have.
we haven't finished business, and I'm sorry about that. Like, on a personal level, I just stuff piled up, and I want to get that board out to you. And see.
You owe him a board?
Dude, let's not talk about it. Off camera.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
Have you told me about this?
Yeah.
Is that why you messaged me the board thing? What the hell is going on?
I didn't message you I wasn't ratting on him.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I was like,
Dude, I would have poked this fool 1,000 times if I had known. You asked
My
the last.
apologies, yeah.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
Oh man.
I got one more question.
Making
because
a napkin and a
Such is
marker
life.
doesn't make up for it.
Yeah.
I got a final question, because I don't know if you know this, but Jerry was a part of the U.S. women's national team scouting.
Oh, very cool.
So I just want to touch on that briefly. How was that experience? What did you like? Maybe you don't have to say what you didn't like about it to not diss them, but you were part of the scouting program when they had their back-to-back World Cup championships. Let's break it down for us.
No, when I finished my A license, I finished it with Jen Lawler.
Yeah.
And Jen Lawler was a part of the U.S. Soccer Scouting Network. She was one of the leaders there, and we had a good relationship, and she brought me on board. But I loved it. It gives you a different landscape for sure, right? Especially because I was in a smaller club at the time, so you're not really aware of the real talent that is out there. That's something very real to everybody's environment, because you think your player is the best player.
Yeah.
One of my first assignments.
Until you have access to the whole country.
Exactly. Right? One of my first assignments, they asked me to, go scout a player. She was playing like a number 10. And like, this player, oh my God, it's the best player that I've ever seen. Like, the best female player that I've ever seen. She was phenomenal. And then I called in and I go, well, just so you know, like, she's probably like 36 on the list of 10s that we have in the country.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what? I'm like, this is like the best player I've ever seen. So you learn quickly. And she's like, do me a favor, go to this field over there. This is like top 20. And go look at her. Then you go like, okay, I see.
There's levels to this, and you got to grasp where they are.
So, and then you have an understanding of how they want to play when they're in different areas of the field and what they're looking for, right? So it's like, so not only are you looking at the player, right, itself and the individual talent, but now it's like, what are they doing in different areas of the field, right? What are they like emotionally, right? Do they get flustered? Did they get scored on? How do they react? So all those things, obviously, as you know, have an effect on the player, and is the, like, it cuts through the top players and the players that aren't gonna really make. I enjoyed the whole process of being a network scout, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it, but it was more, the landscape was shifting, and it was required to do more, and I didn't have the time. Like, I couldn't give, and if I was going to do something, I was going to do it fully, or I wasn't going to do it at all. I wasn't going to go halfway into it. So I decided that it was no longer for me, because my responsibilities with the club were greater, and the landscape now, it was more demanding to be a scout. Now you
Mhm.
had to have more information. Like I said, you go into a game for 2 hours, right? And I was always game. I was always game. It was like, I need you to scout these 3 players. And if you found somebody else that was top talent, you had to report the player. So I was doing 5, 6 reports per game, right? So 2 hours on the field, another 4, 6 hours reporting, right? And now the reporting has gotten so far more detailed. So now you have to get more and more details. So it's like, okay, I really don't have time for this, right? But now I didn't have time to actually go to games, right? Go to showcases. I used to I love flying to showcases. And like I said, I'm a team. The best thing for me was when the national team coaches were on site. We had the group meetings, right? Briefly take notes, and you would discuss the player.
That's sick.
Who watched this player? And there was a bunch of scouts that watched the player, and I would get up and I would report on the player. This is what you did here. This is what sets her apart. This is where she needs like areas of improvement. But within our style of play, she meets all these bullet points.
That
she
is
meets
really
them. So I think we need to monitor. And we even monitored other national team players. Hey, we're gonna play Mexico next month, right? We need to see this player that's playing for them.
Matchup monitoring.
So it was like, excuse me. So it was I love that. But I love same as the license. I love just the networking part of it.
Yeah.
Just being with my colleagues, just having something in common.
Talking ball.
And talking.
And especially
football.
at the high level. Oof,
And every field you show up to, people want to know your name. You're showing up as the U.S. Scout, so that leads to conversations and networking and those kinds of things. This is really cool.
And I try to be super professional there. Like I was like a laser. I really didn't speak to and people knew not to kind of talk to me.
Of course, yeah.
But then the soccer world is so small.
You'll see some.
Right? Then you'll see your friend oh man, I haven't seen this guy. I love just running into people and working with people because I did I started to do my scouting license with the top scout in MLS and all these, and that the networking part, like I said, was great. But once I saw what it was and where it was going, I had to make a decision for myself, and it's I can't give, I just can't do it, right? And now they're going more into full-time scouts.
Yeah, I've seen that. It also seems like a really challenging job, not from the standpoint of what you're talking about, the level of detail, the amount of games, the amount of travel, all those things, but also your reputation's on the line when you're putting forth players' names and how you think about players and how they're going to play for their future. That's all a gray zone. I mean, you can guesstimate as much as you want based on what you see and what you hear about their patterns and their habits, but once they arrive, if you brought them in, you can't control any of that going forward as a scout.
Well,
that always seems challenging.
Well, it's not that clear cut, right? It seems that way, but it's not hey, you need to see this player go in and no. It's look, I saw this player, right? Met all these requirements for us, did great, scored two goals or whatever. Or if it's a center back, her leadership and her tackles, her timing, everything's perfect, right? So that's JC right there. Okay, when does he play next? Oh, he plays 2 other games. Get another set of eyes, and then another set of eyes, and then another set of eyes.
It's a team.
Before you bring him into an ID clinic. So first you go ID clinic.
And that's where they bring him out regionally, right?
Yeah. It's ID clinic, and then after the ID clinic, if they go through that, right? Because in the ID clinics, I'm there again. And there's, fellow scouts there again. And then we go okay, there's a national team camp. Should we put him in? Yes. Okay. JC, you're going into national team camp. Then from national team camp, we'll see if you make the roster to play, the tournament that's coming up. And if not, you go back down, right? You go back down, and your name is still in the mix.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
You might go check. Someone might go see her playing a game back home and
Correct.
Keep her in the loop in a sense.
And the names keep popping up the same.
So it's not as pressurized for each scout in a sense that the picks that you're having are your picks. It's a team pick and it's a
Exactly.
collaboration.
It
but the
has to be that way.
detail
So
work
it's
in
not,
that is
it's not
challenging.
cutthroat either, like where if you make a bad decision, you're not going to be cut off instantly, right?
No, of course not. And you're welcome to your
Your opinion.
you try to take away the biased opinions,
Yeah.
right? Because you have a certain parameter that each player has to meet, right? So it's not like, oh, she did. Yeah, sometimes like if they are creative and they do like these magical things over and over, yeah, you have to let it be known, right? But at the end of the day, like I had an argument with like not a bad argument, but there was a national team coach who was there, right? And we've been following this goalkeeper, right? This goalkeeper, and perception, right? It's like that team lost like 5-1, so 5 goals went
Looks
by
bad.
her,
Looks bad.
right? But the other scouts were like looking at, oh, but she plays so well with her feet and this and that, and I was like, my whole argument was like, yeah, but you know your goalkeeper's job is to keep balls out of the net.
Shot stopper.
Right? Now, if they were all 5 bangers, no problem. But 4 of those were her mistakes, right? Now, I'm not saying anything to get this player out because this player has been monitored. I'm just saying in this game, in this particular moment, she wasn't the best. So now you're, because you're following her from these other areas or places, you're still saying she was the best of the night, and she was not the best of the night.
So people like hold on to their pick.
Exactly.
The team is there to take away the subjective perspective and put in the objective perspective.
But you can't be afraid, like, this is what I see, because nobody wanted to say it.
No,
And if you don't say it, then she goes through and she's now in a situation that hurts all of us. So you have to.
But it was good. Like, and then sometimes, especially like the main boss is going to be the national team coach at that time, right? So you get her to agree with you. Like, oh, I agree, great, perfect. You feel good. And sometimes I can get in not in an argument, but in a discussion, a productive discussion with a national team coach as well. It's not a problem because, and especially national team coaches at the youth level are coaches that are gone up the ranks. So they're like, and they could be a national team coach at one point, then a college coach, and then a club director. So you'll see them again.
They're used to this process.
Yeah. So that's a great environment, great system.
It's also why the football world is so small, because people do that.
Exactly.
They go boom, 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 and they'll just stay within the game wherever they go.
And then I got into scouting when it was like, you're talking about, you had like here in Southern California, you had like no more than 12 scouts for the whole state.
Jeez.
So now they're getting more and more and more. But that's why like a lot of loopholes. Like I got in my first assignment, my first ID center had Giselle and Alyssa Thompson, right? They're both playing for LA right now. But those were special players, like for, 13 years old.
Yeah.
You could just like, wow, these players are like
I know that feeling.
special.
I mean, I remember when I finally had access to players nationwide, probably not to that extent, but when we were at the Barca Residency Academy, we'd filtered through about 3,000 to 5,000 kids a summer for our season that year, and they came in from all the best clubs from all over the city. And I had the first year, I had to not say a word because I was gaining an understanding of the levels of players at this expertise level. Like when we're looking at the top dogs, how do we determine who's shifting on this list in that elite environment? And then there was a second year where I finally realized that, like, okay, well, if you could put the 13 top dog in a U16 game and he's still top dog, now you got something special. Mm-hmm. And so we started experimenting with that more and more in my time at the residency. It was like, okay, if we put these highly elite players who are really young into older aged games and they can still stay highly elite, this says something both about their cognitive ability, awareness, and technical ability as well. Understanding everything about when to do and when to do it, how to do it, and why he's going to do it. And to see that player play, it's almost like there's no question in your gut anymore. Mm-hmm. When they're doing it at that highly elite level and they're doing it beyond anybody around them, you sit in your gut and you're saying, man, I've watched so many players play and nobody I've seen play like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's a feeling almost as much as it is, like you said, an objective, tangible check. after you've seen so many players and you've gotten an understanding of the levels of the national ability, there's that moment where you're sitting at that elite and you're looking at those elite and you see the elite of the elite and you're thinking, I get it. Wow. It's every single minute detail in the game is pretty much accounted for.
I did my A license at with the academy players there at the residency at Barca, right?
Yeah.
And I did so for my
What year was that?
I can't remember, but Julian Araujo was there.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I do a session, right, where you have to have an assistant coach. Well, my assistant coach was a big college guy, right? And I'm doing my session, I think it was building out, something on building out, and the college guy was my assistant, but he was going against everything that I was doing. He was like, no, you're gonna have to go long. I'm like, bro, no, you're gonna have to go long. They're not gonna, like, you can't do it this way.
In the course too. In the course,
right?
Dude, you can just shut your mouth and listen.
and he was my assistant. He was there to assist me. So he was. No, I don't see this exercise.
You wanted to grab the book and go.
and we're having a discussion with all our instructors as well, and let's just see. I'm like, bro, this is like the Barca Academy. Like this is the easiest exercise that I could have picked, right? And sure enough, they're drawing the defenders in under a lot of pressure, right? And we're building. I think it was building through the middle or whatever it was. And
bro, that's the perfect session for
yes,
where you're
exactly.
at.
So I remember that from the academy, and it was like, and he was
one of those guys.
He was in my session.
Yeah.
So he was in my session, so it just made it like super easy.
You give the ball to him, and
he'll
So I
build it.
actually had to manipulate it so it became harder.
But
right?
in that manipulation, the course says, "Hey, good job. You added more struggle."
Exactly.
Yeah,
Good job,
it's like.
So,
but
it was good.
In the next couple generations, but after him, there was plenty others that came in and did the same thing there, where they're young, they're 16s, 15s, playing in U19 MLS Next games, and they're demanding every play, and it's funneling through them. You say, okay, it's probably time that you're no longer here. We're sending you to the MLS now. It's it becomes that, you know. And when you see those guys tangibly, viscerally, I'm telling you, it's in here. It's like, oh man, I'm not going to get to work with him for too much longer.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy this when I'm doing this now, you know. But I love that. I love the exposure to that level of player, because now in my everyday life, because I know we have the 99%, when people start to get swelled heads, arrogancy, or whatever it is, I'm able to bring a reality check that isn't like a hammer. I'm not demeaning. It's a reality check. This is a humbling. This is an understanding of where's the bar, and if you really want to reach it, this is what people are doing at your age elsewhere. Yeah. Knowing that, how does that change your ambition? You know?
Jerry, where can people find you if they want to talk to you more or get some one-on-one training?
Yeah, I love that. So don't call me.
No. Everything is Ankle Breaker Soccer.
On Instagram?
Instagram, Ankle Breaker Soccer. On TikTok, website is ankleBreakerSoccer.com. Got a couple clinics, camps coming up, and but just enjoying the ride, bro.
Heck yeah.
Love to hear that, man.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and you can find me at ZJ Kaizen or at Train Zone Sports. And what about you?
At Coach JCKM or at JC Kruer M.
Yeah. And Jerry, thank you so much for coming out, man. We really appreciate having you here.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Okay,